Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, December 11th, and you're watching Observer TV News. I'm Ryan Mackenzie.
And I'm Anjelica Balatbat.
And here are today's top stories. The arrest of Huawei's CFO in Vancouver has led to possible retaliations in China. The Insurance Bureau of Canada has released a list of the most stolen cars and trucks, and one province takes top spot. And lastly, a tragedy has led American TV show Power to halt production. But first, on to local news. Victims and families impacted by two major tragedies in Toronto this year have officially received millions of dollars raised to support their recovery. The campaign Toronto Strong raised more than $4 million to support victims of the April van attack that killed 10, as well as the shooting on Danforth Avenue that killed a teenage woman and a 10-year-old girl. The city didn't say how the money was distributed, but says they handed it out based on the seriousness of the people's injuries and whether they need help for the rest of their lives. Meanwhile, 2 weeks after the federal government legislated an end to the Canada Post strike, Ottawa has appointed a mediator to bring a final end to the labor dispute. Elizabeth McPherson is a former chair of the Canada Industrial Relations Board. She'll have 2 weeks to help them reach a settlement. Because of the strike, delivery delays are expected to continue into January. Reaction continues to come into the Ontario Human Rights Commission report saying Black people living in Toronto are 20 times more likely to die in a police shooting than white people. The report analyzed two periods of data, one between 2000 to 2006 and one between 2013 to 2017. Members of Toronto's Black community say that the findings only validates what they've known for decades. Anjelica.
Thanks, Ryan. The streets of Toronto are a little safer tonight. The OPP have taken 120 guns off the streets and made 23 arrests after taking down an illegal firearm ring. Project Renner began last year when police noticed a pattern in firearms being seized in the GTA. Police seized guns, drugs, money, and cars. Police have charged two main suspects for making and trafficking the firearms. They are 29-year-old John Rasmussen and 47-year-old Bruce McKinnon. A group of construction workers made a daring rescue yesterday in Toronto, and the whole thing was caught on video. The workers pulled a man out of the attic of a burning pizza restaurant at Children Wellesley before firemen arrived. We don't know how the man is, but 3 other people were taken to hospital. 3 years ago today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau welcomed a plane of Syrian refugees fleeing the civil war. Today marks a meaningful milestone. They've met their 3-year residency requirement. Now, they're eligible to become Canadian citizens. One of those refugees is Bazul Al-Zabi, who now lives in Ottawa. He was on that plane with his wife and 3 kids. He told reporters today that Canada is that country that opened up for me and my kids. So it's my homeland. That's a first look at news. Now here's Jonathan Pereira with your weather.
Thank you and good evening. It's -1 degree with some light flurries right now on this chilly overcast day. With the wind chill, it feels like -7, but be sure to bring out your toques and mitts as tonight the temperature will drop to just below 0 degrees. On Wednesday, we might be able to see a mix of sun and clouds with a low of 4 degrees, and then a high of 3 degrees on Thursday with a chance of flurries. As the week begins to warm up for the weekend, Friday will peak at 5 degrees and potentially give us a chance to wash off some of that salt from our cars, with a chance of showers. If you were looking to be part of the festivities this weekend, be sure to bring an umbrella, as there are approximately 50-minute lineups outside the Christmas market. With a high of 6 degrees on Saturday and 4 degrees on Sunday, be sure to dress appropriately for the rain and cold. If you feel like reliving your childhood, make your way over to Ontario Place, where you can either watch the Polar Express and IMAX or the Aurora Light Show, running from 4 to midnight. That's all from me and on the weather. Stay with us because after the break, we will have the latest on national and international news.
As a kid, this beat was always stuck in my head. I would practice it anywhere I could, whenever I could. I was able to bring the beat to life. Here, I found my music.
Welcome back. The Insurance Bureau of Canada released its annual list of Canada's most frequently stolen cars and trucks today. Ford F-Series pickup trucks and high-end SUVs are reportedly the most stolen vehicles this year. New Brunswick tops the list with a 28% increase in auto theft, followed by Ontario with 15%. Auto theft is up 6% nationwide. Thieves have been able to start the car by stealing the signal of the car keys. The arrest of Huawei's CFO in Vancouver has sparked tensions between Canada and China, as the Chinese tech giant's CFO Meng Wanzhou's bail hearing continues into its third day in a Vancouver court. Meng was arrested on December 1st. She is wanted for extradition to the U.S. on allegations of fraud, including violating U.S. sanctions against Iran. In a statement from China's Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, China has urged Canada to release Meng immediately or face, quote, serious consequences. There is currently no indication from China what those consequences might be. That's all for national news. Now over to Ellen Samick with international news.
Thanks, Justin. There's breaking news out of France. Police in Strasbourg are reporting that 2 people are dead and 10 are injured after a shooting at a Christmas market. The French Interior Minister is urging residents of Strasbourg to stay inside. According to Twitter users, people at the market have been barricaded inside stores. The police presence is growing, and police know who the suspect is, but have not yet released a name. There is also breaking news out of Brazil. 5 people, including a gunman, are dead after a mass shooting in a Catholic cathedral. The shooting took place in the city of Campinas, 100 kilometers north of Sao Paulo. Police say the suspect fired at least 20 shots before shooting himself in the head. Meanwhile, more on the Huawei story with news that a former Canadian diplomat has been arrested in China. His name is Michael Kovrig. The arrest comes almost immediately after a Canadian court struck down a bail request for Huawei's CFO. So far, no official connection has been made between these 2 incidents, and Kovrig's whereabouts are still unknown. The Canadian embassy in Beijing is not commenting. It looks like Brexit could be on the verge of a total breakdown. British Prime Minister Theresa May wants to further delay Parliament's vote on how the UK will leave the European Union in 2019. The vote was supposed to take place yesterday. Her reason for delaying the vote, there's no chance that it will pass. On Monday, when May addressed Parliament saying that she was promising broad support for the deal she made with the EU, some parliamentarians laughed at her. The EU officials say there's no room for further negotiations regarding the Brexit deal. That means the UK could be going to the polls soon for yet another Brexit referendum, depending on how all of this plays out. And that's your international news. Now over to Jonathan with a story about a tragedy in Hollywood.
Thanks, Ellen, and hi, everyone. A production assistant has died on the set of an American TV show. His name is Pedro Jimenez. Another crew member accidentally struck Jimenez with a car during production of the crime drama series. The 63-year-old was pronounced dead upon arrival at a hospital in Brooklyn. 50 Cent, an executive producer of the show, expressed his condolences in an Instagram post. Jimenez worked on the series since its 2014 debut. Production has been shut down for the time being. The NYPD is currently investigating and no arrests have been made. We'll be back with more entertainment and sports after these messages.
What sets Centennial College apart from the rest? The Story Arts Center, a school where you can turn your creative passion into a real job. It's a small campus with intimate classes, which allows students to get real hands-on experience. Fine-tune your technical skills while expanding your creativity. Become part of Toronto's rich history, like several of our alumni, and make the Six proud. Story Arts Center is a small school with a big influence.
Welcome back, and hello everyone. This just in, the Toronto Blue Jays have released Troy Tulowitzki. Tulowitzki is now a free agent. He joined the team in 2015 and played an important role in the franchise's deep playoff run that year. He hasn't played since July 2017 after suffering a hamstring injury. Tulowitzki was also ruled out this season due to a bone spur injury. Meanwhile, the Toronto Raptors are currently in a slump as they've lost 3 of the last 4 games. In that 4-game stretch, point guard Kyle Lowry has struggled with his shot. He's averaging only 4 points per game and shooting only 14% from the three-point line. Lowry didn't score any points when the Raptors lost against the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday. Lowry and the Raptors look to bounce back tonight as they start a 4-game road trip on the West Coast and face the Los Angeles Clippers. The game's on here at 10:30. Now, on to hockey. The Toronto Maple Leafs have signed Swedish defenseman Calle Rosen. The Marlies defenseman agreed to a 2-year contract extension worth $750,000. The Leafs also traded forward Adam Cracknell to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for defenseman Stephen Alexi. The Leafs will be shorthanded tonight when they play the Carolina Hurricanes. They'll be without Zach Hyman. He's currently serving a 2-game suspension after a questionable hit on Saturday against Boston Bruins defenseman Charlie McAvoy.
That's it for sports. Stay tuned for Toronto's Observer's Entertainment Center.
What sets Centennial College apart from the rest? The Story Arts Center, a school where you can turn your creative passion into a real job. It's a small campus with intimate classes, which allows students to get real hands-on experience. Fine-tune your technical skills while expanding your creativity. Become part of Toronto's rich history, like several of our alumni, and make the Six proud. Story Arts Center is a small school with a big influence.
Welcome back. This is Toronto Observer's Entertainment Center. First up, Ariana Grande's Thank You Next is back at the top of Billboard's Hot 100 this week. The song beat out Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do, earning Grande the title of the most streamed song in 1 week by a female artist. This came after Grande gave an emotional speech at the Billboard's Women in Music Award. She called this year, quote, the best in her career, but worst in her personal life, unquote. The Grammy nominations are out, and some fans aren't happy. Kendrick Lamar tops the list with 8 nominations, followed closely by Drake with 7 and Cardi B with 5. Twitter users took the opportunity to troll Nicki Minaj for being snubbed, but her fans were quick to fight back, calling the Grammy system, quote, rigged and outdated, unquote. And still with the award ceremonies, the Oscars is considering not having a host for the 2019 Academy Award ceremony. This comes after Kevin Hart quit in the midst of backlash about homophobic tweets from his past. Hart says the board asked him to apologize, but he refused, stating it was something he had already done. Other celebrities such as Nick Cannon have spoken out in Hart's defense. Now, the Oscar committee is scrambling to find a new host. So, will we have a hostless show this year? We'll just have to wait and see. Now over to Eileen with more on entertainment.
Thanks, Joanna. The Duchess of Sussex made a surprise appearance at the British Fashion Awards last night. Meghan Markle showed off her baby bump in a gorgeous Givenchy gown. She presented the Best Designer Award to Claire Waite Keller, who designed Markle's wedding dress. Keller says she's happy she got to be a part of the Duchess's special day. Rumors speculate that Meghan and Harry are having twin boys, but we'll just have to wait until spring of 2019 to find out. Meanwhile, newlyweds Justin Bieber and Hailey Baldwin, now Bieber, might be filling in the void left when Meghan Markle moved out of Toronto to live in England. The Biebers are reportedly planning on living in Ontario full-time. Hailey Bieber even posted a series of photos on her Instagram at the Toronto Christmas market with the caption, quote, yes to everything Christmas, unquote. Now on to Eric with the latest in music.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a few things from the world of music to bring to your attention. First, good news for the Academy Awards this year. The documentary Amazing Grace has finally been released just in time to qualify for the 2019 Oscars. The movie features a gospel performance by Aretha Franklin from early 1972 that's remained unreleased for 46 years after the Queen of Soul ordered the movie shelved. The movie has had limited screenings in New York and LA, but we don't know if it's coming to Toronto anytime soon. In reggae news, singer Buju Banton has been released from prison in the U.S. and deported to his native Jamaica. He served 7 years for conspiracy to traffic cocaine. In country music, it's a sad time for Dolly Parton as her brother Floyd has died. He wrote multiple songs for his older sister. The death was reported earlier today, although he died on December 6th. No cause has been disclosed. Floyd Parton was 61. On to heavy metal. Following their successful final tour, Judas Priest have announced another tour. The only Canadian dates so far in the western provinces, and perhaps they are a bit bashful about returning to Toronto for another farewell. Meanwhile, we reported last week there was a growing controversy surrounding the song Baby It's Cold Outside, and it's having been banned by the CBC in at least one Cleveland radio station. This week, it seems multiple cover versions of the song have picked up sales and increased streaming, so now the CBC will put it back on their airwaves. Now, some big news for some Southern Ontario rock and rollers. Edenville, near Wasaga Beach, has announced plans for a 3-day rock festival to be called Roxadis Fest. Performers for next year's inaugural run include Kid Rock, Nickelback, and other hard rock performers. For the less rebellious, there will be VIP services like floats planes and chartered helicopters. Rock on, dudes. Thanks for joining us at the Toronto Observer's Entertainment Centre. After the break, we have our Ask the Reporter segment.
As a kid, this beat was always stuck in my head. I would practice it anywhere I could, whenever I could. I was able to bring the beat to life. found my music.
Welcome back. Before we begin our reporter segment, there's an update on Strasbourg. As of right now, we know that 4 people are dead and 11 are injured. Now, we'll continue with our reporter segment. We told you earlier about Canada Post being in mediation after the strike. The Observer's Daniel Samuel has the latest on the story. Daniel?
In an effort to ensure that packages arrive ahead of Christmas, postal workers will be delivering packages 7 days a week. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers estimates there's a backlog of 6 million parcels, but don't blame the recent strike. The postal workers' rotating strike ended on November 22nd when back-to-work legislation was passed in the House of Commons. Current inventory of parcels is reportedly triple the number collected in 2017.
When did the strike begin?
The strike began on October 22nd and lasted a month.
Thank you, Daniel.
East York continues to commemorate Remembrance Day with many attending the 100th anniversary of the armistice. Centennial College held its armistice anniversary right here at the Story Arts Center campus. Toronto Observer's Fran Mbadwe reports from the scene.
Malcolm Kelly, founder of Centennial's graduate sports journalism degree, gave opening remarks. Nate Horowitz, Story Arts Dean, gave a brief address, followed by one from Toronto Danforth Parliament member Julie DeBrusin. Bob Middleton navigated heavy bomber planes in the Second World War.
You learn responsibility. We got to look after this aircraft. You have to do your best. Comradeship was a big thing. Like we had 7 members in the crew, and we stayed in touch for years.
Of his crew, he's the only one still alive. His more recent service is a different type of heroic. It's as president and treasurer of Scarborough's Telco Community Volunteers, who have worked with the Heart and Stroke Fund to make tens of thousands of heart pillows for the Sunnybrook Hospital's cardiac ward. Mort Lightstone served as an Air Force navigator during the Korean War and the Vietnam War.
6 months of trying to implement peace, there were 17,000 violations of the Paris Peace Accord. There were 72,000 people killed implementing the Paris Peace Accord. I think that probably is the most horrendous experience that I had.
Now he contributes to the Memory Project, a volunteer organization that helps veterans share their stories of military service. It's a welcome reminder to reflect on Canadian history and what it means to be Canadian. Centennial will hold the event again next Remembrance Day as we continue to celebrate the self-sacrifice of our veterans. For Observer TV News, I'm Fran Mbadwe.
Fran, how did the event end off?
It ended with a ceremony from the Color Guards of the Royal Canadian Legion's Todd Morden Branch 10. They performed various military honors showing respect to Canada and those who have served. Attendees also listened to a performance of The Last Post. A bugle call typically played at military funerals and ceremonies. In Flanders Fields was also recited. This was followed by an invitation to socialize with veterans from the Legion.
Thanks, Fran.
Math is in motion and girls are in gear at the University of Toronto. The Scarborough campus held an event to try and address the lack of diversity in science and tech jobs. Observer TV News' Bobby Histova has more.
Girls plus science equals the future. That's the equation the University of Toronto is using to get women more science jobs. The organizers behind the all-girl gala had students work with expert females in the field while also meeting other students. It was all designed to build girls' confidence and lead them to success.
One of the biggest things is that they can be independent, they can take care of themselves. You know, the jobs pay well so that they can live a good life.
Students had coding classes, animation workshops, and used teamwork to tackle tech problems. They also met Air Canada pilot and first officer Miyuki Hamakawa.
I work with a lot of male pilots, but not a lot of female pilots, and I'd love to see more in the industry.
But these girls got a taste of airtime.
We're building a box right now for an egg.
Using only straw, string, tape, and a bag, the girls worked in groups to protect an egg from a 4-story fall.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, and then like...
Some girls had a plan.
And attach it with the bag so it's suspended off the bottom.
Others were more creative. What is that? but time came for all of these girls to test their inventions. Don't worry, they tried again. While Humpty Dumpty and the rest of these eggs may not have a bright future, these girls do.
I would love to become a doctor, a pediatrician, probably a lawyer.
I want to become an architect because it involves calculus and all math, and I'm really good at math.
The event has run for 15 years, hosting 1,500 girls. To learn more, you can visit mimgig.com. Bobby Herstova, Observer TV News, Toronto.
It's a pleasure to have Bobby live in studio. Bobby, was there any moment that stood out to you while you were there?
You know, it's a great thing, and you have to remember, these girls are still only in grade 9. They have their whole lives ahead of them. You know, what really stood out to me when I asked these girls questions is what their goals were. You'd be surprised that they didn't just list off jobs or, you know, any standard work. These girls are passionate and committed.
Awesome, Bobby. Thank you.
The ancient Japanese sumie art style thrives in Toronto. The Japanese Canadian Cultural Centre hosted the Sumie Artists of Canada's annual exhibition, showcasing the traditional artistry and skill. Observer TV News' Louise Allen Palma has the details.
On Saturday, the Japanese Cultural Canadian Centre hosted the annual Sumie Artists of Canada exhibit. Sumie is a traditional ink-based art style that originated in China and developed in Japan. Many people gathered to enjoy the exhibit and witness a live demonstration done by award-winning artist Rosalind Levin.
I said, this is what I want to do. And I gave up watercolors. I had already done oils and colored pencil and pastels. You name it, I had done it. But this spoke to me, unlike any other art form that I'd done.
Rosalind Levin has been doing Sumie art style since 1976. She never thought her art would reach as many people as it has, especially today. Despite the cold weather, the Sumie exhibit welcomed many guests who were able to admire the art on display.
For a show like this, you will be looking at about 300 or so people. Yeah, they'll come over the 2 days because the show is only on once. It's usually the second week in November, and when it's on, the people who come are people who are interested in Oriental arts, Japanese, Chinese, or as I say, Japanese in spirit.
Regardless of your ethnicity, Rosalind Levin expands on the importance of sharing and understanding different cultures.
Understanding other cultures helps people accept other cultures. And part of understanding a culture is knowing its art, knowing its language, not necessarily speaking it, but recognizing it. And so I think in any culture, it's important to look to other cultures, to find parts of them that you want to incorporate into your life.
The winner of the Ruth Yamada Award of Excellence in Sumie was awarded to Hiroshi Yamamoto, who spoke about the significance of his scenic art.
When I look at scenery, automatically, I like to express by drawing or painting, Yeah, well, I cannot explain everything.
The annual Sumie Artists of Canada exhibition lasts 2 days. Don't miss it next year.
I just want to keep on painting. And if my painting can bring joy to other people, that is wonderful.
Louise Allen Palma, Observer TV News, Toronto.
Those paintings were absolutely beautiful. Louise, do you mind telling us about the Ruth Yamada Award of Excellence in Sumie?
Back in 1963, when the Japanese Canadian Cultural Centre opened, the first Sumie classes were taught by a woman named Ruth Yamada. To recognize her efforts in pioneering these classes, workshops, and exhibitions, the Ruth Yamada Award of Excellence in Sumie is given to the artist every year who is judged Best of Show at the annual exhibition. And this year, the winner was Hiroshi Yamamoto.
Thanks, Louise.
And those are the top stories this hour. You can find the latest online at torontoobserver.ca. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.